Well, good evening, everybody. My name is George Hams, and we're going to talk about the amenities that Flagler County has to offer. In particular, we'll start with the Princess Place, one of my favorite places. I'm still the county tour guide out there. And as if we were on a tour now, I would just say, my name is George Hams. I'll be your tour guide for today at the Princess Place. And we have a lot of amenities there. As you know, it was built in 1873. It was the first Spanish land grant by the King of Spain to Francisco Pellicer, who Pellicer Creek is named after. It's considered a Florida pristine waterway. And the Princess Place is made out of pink coquina rock. It has the first in-ground swimming pool in the state of Florida. There's also tennis courts. The county extensively had it remodeled. It's still plumb and square as far as carpentry terms go. And it is just an awesome place. When the county obtained it in 1993, it didn't have any furnishings inside. The previous owner took everything out and did whatever he chose. But we have been getting donations quite frequently from a lot of people over the years that are period pieces that are reminiscent of how the princess had it decorated. And it's really an awesome site. There's guided tours through there every Saturday at 2 o'clock. The rangers at the Princess Place will conduct guided tours. I'm available if you call 386-931-0872 for personal tours. I've taken groups as small as 5 and as large as 113. I've been very fortunate in learning the history from local families like the DuPont family and Wadsworth families and many others that were attributed to the Princess Place. And when I give the tour, we go back in time to 1565 when the Spanish first landed in St. Augustine, and they brought with cracker cattle, which is now known as cracker cattle, and ponies. And cracker cattle, as you know, migrated over to Texas, and the Longhorns that are called the Texas Longhorns are indeed original bloodlines from Spain. And we still have several of the cracker cattle at the Florida Agricultural Museum on Old Kings Road, which was built by the British in the mid 1700s. Directly across from the Ag Museum is a site on a little ridge of Fort Fulton. It was U.S. Army fort. It was put up in the mid 1800s to protect supply lines from the Indians along the Old Kings Road. A little further down in the mid 1700s was the British period. They built Hewlett sawmills, and the remnants of the sawmill are still there. So if you're fortunate enough to kayak along Pellicer Creek, you can actually go over and see the remnants from the Hewlett sawmill. Getting back to the Princess Place, the Princess Place is on the National Register as Cherokee Grove. Originally, they had orange groves there and extensive other crops, such as you'll have at Beulah Ruins, which was on the south end of the Old Kings Road. And there's so many historic sites. There was actually a Spanish mission some 26 leagues south of St. Augustine, which is now in Palm Coast. We're not sure of the exact site, but it was in the Palm Coast area. We're going to say approximately by the old Welcome Center on Old Kings Road and St. George Grade, which is now Palm Coast Parkway. And anytime anyone wants to jump in and ask a question, we're available for that. We get on a roll with talking about the Princess Place. I was very fortunate. The county commissioners chose to name the covered bridge the George E. Hams Bridge, and I was very honored. Many people, while I'm conducting tours, thought that it was a memorial bridge. So I must say that the rumors of my demise were greatly exaggerated. I'm still kicking, and we actually have an artificial reef program that I started in the mid 90s, and they named the bridge George E. Hams Artificial Reef. I said, bridge. Oh, it's right here. So that's quite an honor to have things named after you and you're still alive. Rumor has it there may have been a hit or two on the list, but they never got me. And I just was honored to serve Flagler County for 2 years on the Palm Coast Service District Advisory Board before it became a city, and County Commission for 24 years, 6 terms. And very proud of that. I've been told that I'm the longest standing county commissioner in the history of Flagler County. So that's something I'm very proud of. And I just promote Flagler every chance I get. We have so many amenities. You know, I'm proud to say we have, I'm not quite sure of the number now, but over 70 miles of nature trails in Flagler County. We're 1/10 of the size of Volusia County, and they don't have anywhere near as much. I was also involved very passionately in my early years as a commissioner. Harry Gildred, a good friend of mine from Washington, had connections for iced tea money, and we were able to get the bike path sidewalk, if you will, from Volusia County line to St. Johns County line along A1A. So that was built by, paid for by ICE-T money, and I was very honored to be a party to that. But there's so many good things that we were able to do. I'm very enthusiastic. I haven't lost my enthusiasm for promoting Flagler County, but one of my first projects was the Palm Coast Community Park. We had so many people involved in that, and ITT graciously donated it to the county. And the school board, it was proposed for a school site and they relinquished that right. So we were able to have a park put in, a 26-acre park. And a good friend of mine, a fellow veteran, Jim Holland, when he passed away, he was serving on the Palm Coast Service District Advisory Board, and then on the Palm Coast City Council. So we were quite honored to have a friend like that. In fact, seems to me that he has a daughter named Melissa Holland. She just happens to be the mayor of Palm Coast and doing a very good job. So we're very pleased with that. The Palm Coast Historical Society, so many great people work there. In particular, Elaine Studnicki. She's the one who puts on these shows. And oh, I see her picture now. I recognize that lady. She was there for the dedication of the George Hands Bridge at the Princess Place, and we're very honored and flattered that so many people enjoy some of the things I was involved with. The senior citizens get to enjoy. If you're 65 or over and earn a taxable income of $38,000 or less, you qualify for an additional $50,000 homestead exemption. Many people don't know that, and many seniors would rather not let it get around that they're a senior, but they do qualify. And if they go to Jay Gardner's office, the tax assessor, you can apply for that. Any questions while we're at it? The stable was recently renovated. I'm saying recently, you know, as we get old, 10 years ago it was recently, but probably 5 years ago, we renovated the stable and put it back to its original state. The colors on there now is from when they took the trim and casings off the window. They showed what the original colors were. So it is definitely original. And I must say, again, the Island House is out there. The county was going to use that as a conference center and rent it out. I don't know if they've done so at this time, but as you all know, we have some great events out there at the Princess Place, like the Creekside Festival. We also have the Native American Festival, which is really a lot of fun to do. They honor the veterans, and the Native Americans come from all over the country and sell their wares and do dancing, and they have hoop dancers. And I'm trying to think of the guy who heads that up, Jimmy Sawgrass. He sets up a whole area with all types of demonstrations and how the Native Americans lived and how they ate and cooked and hunted and whatnot. So it's just a beautiful place. There's equestrian paths there. If you have a horse, bring it out there. And you can ride the horse out there. We have herds of wild boar, tremendous amount of deer. If you're out there early in the morning, right when it opens, you'll be able to see all the wildlife there.
I probably really watched that.
Like, yeah, Dogma was a good one.
Well, I just seen the name come up, Becky Bernstein. She is a good friend from Tallahassee. She works with the Florida Association of Counties. Hey, Becky, it's good to have you on board. I miss going up to Tallahassee, but you know, someone said to me, you know, George, how come you're not in office anymore? And I told them, well, all my voters died, so you know that happens. All my good friends were in their 60s and 70s at the VFW 33 years ago when I came. So unfortunately, they're gone, but they're still here in spirit, and they encourage me to do things now and then. So welcome aboard. We're in the middle of talking about the different amenities we have in Flagler. Gosh, there's so many nature trails and bike paths. We even have what they call a BMX track, where there's trails in the hammock right across from Captain's Barbecue at Bing's Landing. You go in there and you have to have the biker bikes because you'll destroy a regular bicycle, because there's jumps and leaps and logs and all types of debris in your way, if you will. But it's really amazing what we have in this county. When we would go to Tallahassee, we stood out amongst many of the counties because of our preservation of and preservation of local heritage and traditions, as well as historic sites. So we're really proud to have all that going on in this county, and we were honored. Many times I would get calls from people that wanted to tour the Princess Place as far away as Europe, and they were like happy wanderers, and they come and we would talk about the things. And we've had a busload after busload of children. They used to do the field trips. Of course, with the virus, they don't do that anymore. But we're looking forward to current situations where we're virus free, thank God, happen one day. And altogether, we've taken approximately just a little over 37,000 people to the Princess Place on tour from clubs and organizations. Many of the corporations come out and they'll have their annual picnics or their swearing in. Like, for example, the Sierra Club had meetings in the past where they would swear in their new officers, and they asked me to do tours. Gail Wadsworth from the Wadsworth family, her father was a local judge, and there's many things like a Wadsworth School named after the family, as well as the Wadsworth Park. So anyways, getting back to the information at hand, we have so much to be thankful for in Flagler. Oh, yes, ma'am. We have a question?
I do, George. If you look at me, I would like to know, I want to know more about Princess Place, specifically the owners of Princess Place. You said it quickly, but I know Wadsworth was an owner as well, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's an interesting story. You know, the princess, she wasn't always a princess. When she married Henry Cutting, he's the one who built the lodge. He was a noble yachtsman from the Northeast, and he built the lodge, and they had several children. Unfortunately, some met with accidents. However, Mr. Cutting had died, and in mourning, the Angeline, what was her last name? Anyway, she went to Pyrenees Mountains between Spain and France and met a Russian prince in exile. And he was looking for a place to hide out because, as you know, after the revolution, they were killing all the royalty. And he ended up marrying the Angeline, and they came back to Flagler County, were married, and it became the Princess Place. And she got quite uppity in her princess status. She used to summon her servants, and she would do a lot of neat things like go out to where the school bus was taking the children and she'd bring Christmas presents. She had horses that would do tricks and take children on rides and whatnot. And that's how she became a princess. But many of the stories go back to where she was very gracious, and the DuPont family was very instrumental. Many of the Wadsworth family was there, as well as Lou Wadsworth. He's the one who bought the Princess Place. I believe it was 1954. And prior to that, you all know a wrestler named Gorgeous George from years ago. His wife was Babe Zacharias, and she was actually interested in buying the Princess Place at one time. But there was a caretaker out there, and he was quite rough, and he had moonshine stills all over the place. I understand the revenuers were after them even in the early 70s. And he told Babe Zacharias that if she bought the place, he was come with it, and she didn't want nothing to do with him. And she said, no, you'd have to leave. And he told her he'd camp out in the woods and haunt her the rest of her life. So she backed out of the deal. And the Wadsworth family obtained it, and a number of things were built around there, like currently the information center, which was used with the high school children. They were there, and they would do different things and finish out their high school, their senior year there. Some were having trouble keeping up in school, so they brought them out to the Princess Place, and they helped with maintaining the grounds, and they built things and fixed things. And many of them went on to be agricultural majors in college and stayed in that realm with nature and so on and so forth. But the Wadsworth built the Island House. It's not being used right now. We used to use it for meetings with the Princess Place Citizen Support Group. And
Is it interesting?
do we have any other questions?
Nothing I haven't heard.
I do, George. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over, but
No,
Why
please
was-
do.
why was the reef built?
In I would say 1994, I was reading an article in the Florida Sportsman, and there was a comment in there. Was a nice article on artificial reefs. Well, I didn't know a whole lot about them, and it said that most all counties along the Atlantic coast have artificial reef programs, except for a few, and one of them was Flagler County. So they said there's grants available for $25,000 if all they need to do is apply for a grant. So I went to the called the toll-free number and talked to a gentleman at that time. It was DEP, Doldrum, I believe is the last name, and they sent a reef packet for a grant, and the thing was like 3 inches thick. I didn't know what to do with that. I'm like, oh my God, I have enough problem with doing my taxes, let alone apply for a grant like that. So I went to the engineering department, and Steve Watson worked in there, and he was helping me, and he did a lot of the work, and I would do what I could. I went around the county to cities and different clubs and organizations and got referrals where people were sponsoring it. They said, oh, we'd love to have an artificial reef program. So we put all that together with the grant packet. We sent it in, and sure enough, we were awarded a $25,000 grant. And we put the, actually, we put the first reef in, I believe it was probably around 1995. It was called the Big George's Reef. For obvious reasons, but truth is, it was named after George. He was an old-time fisherman in Flagler Beach, and most people thought it was named after me, but they called it Big George's Reef, so we had a little fun with that. And we now have 14 reefs in place. They're heavily fished. Fishing boats from St. Augustine actually come every day and anchor over our reefs. There's one in particular, which is our largest reef. I don't know why, but it's called the George Hands Reef. And it's over 100,000 ton of concrete rubble, which formed a mountain profile. And the fish that normally would migrate and come through Flagler County, it was like sand flats under there, like a desert. So there weren't many things. There was an old sailboat wreck, but there weren't too many things that would protect the smaller fish. And once we put the reefs in, it didn't take but a couple weeks before fish started migrating, and they're reproducing at our reefs. So George Hand's Reef is heavily fished, but there's octopus, there's lobster. I can go on, but there's sharks. There's a grouper out there that I don't know, it might weigh 700 pounds or more. It's not necessarily a fishtail, but I've been told that by the divers. And we're very proud of it. They're just some friends of mine that I didn't even know and made acquaintance. They said, oh, we were married out at the reefs. And I said, oh, that's fabulous. They got married over the George Hand's Reef. And so I guess that's kind of unique. They're still married. That's a good sign. And, it's just so many people are they catch red snapper like crazy out there. And I don't know what. I remember one time we had a guest, Jeb Bush was the governor, and he came to Flagler County, and we were after him to put an overpass at Matanzas because, God forbid, if we have to evacuate, we need many evacuation routes. And the Senate and legislature approved funding for that bridge at least 5 times while he was in office, and he vetoed it every time. So when he came to Flagler, of course, I asked him, I said, why do you keep vetoing the bridge? We need that in case of fires. And he says, oh, well, he was kind of a smart butt. And he made a comment like, well, because we didn't have the bridge, that's why the fire started. And I'm like, not really, but I have a video of that. It's really pretty cool. And the other thing is, he said, well, I have a question for you. How many snook can you catch in a day? He thought he was going to trip me up. And I says, well, that depends if you fish during the day or at nighttime. But the fishermen will know what that means. But is there anything else? Because I get on and I get going on things, I don't, being retired, I don't get to talk much. So unfortunately, I'm
Keep going.
George, what about Holland Park and the original name for it? I understand from your documents, it said Palm Coast Community Park.
Yes, when it was first put in, the city wasn't a city yet. And it became a city at the end of 1999, a millennial city, if you will, millennium. And it was called the Palm Coast Community Park. And of course, with Jim Holland, a friend of mine and veteran, when he passed, he was serving on the city council as a councilman, and they decided to name the Jim Holland Park, Jim Holland Memorial Park. And that's how it's got its name. And it's really quite an honor because he was an honorable person. And it's quite a park. I haven't been there for a while, but it really is a nice park. And I understand they also have some type of water things for the children there now. I need to get out there and not necessarily try out the water park, but to see it, because it's a great place to live in Flagler County. And
Well, you know what?
that's how it became Holland Park.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Talking.
No, I was just saying that's how it became Holland Park, Jim Holland Park.
So it was not named Florida Park Drive, Florida Park.
Well, before we started the 26 acres, it was just a little 5-acre park, and that actually was called Florida Park. That's what people called it. And when the county obtained it from ITT after the school board relinquished the rights to it, when it was built, they renamed it the Palm Coast Community Park.
Okay.
And that was the county commission that named it that.
Okay.
And there is plaques over there on the big coquina rock with all the people that donated, including myself. And I actually helped build some of the shelters in the old days. I'm a retired builder, so I still knew how to swing a hammer. And we're just very proud of things. I have my footprints, I guess, on a lot of different projects, including the Rails to Trail projects and all that. So it was great being a county commissioner, and it was great being instrumental in doing positive things for Flagler County residents.
There's a question here and it says, how far offshore are the reefs located?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Most of the boats nowadays, they used to use GPS. Now they all use pretty much land coordinates. My reef, the George Hands Reef, is 21 miles southeast of Matanzas Bridge. It's in 70 foot of water. And as I said before, it's over 100,000 tons of concrete rubble, 14 reefs in all. All of them are out at least 20 miles or so. There's some that might be in a little bit. If you look at pardon my pronunciation, if you look at the oceanographic charts, they list all the reefs, and it actually lists Steve Watson, when he was helping me with the grant, some of the first reefs he named after his wife, Dolly Sue. That's a reef, and she had passed away, unfortunately, but he named one Hunter Reef and one Holly Reef, and we honored him because of all his work with the grant and everything. And his wife and 2 children have reefs, so I have something in common with them. And you know, originally I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and when they found out I had a reef, they were teasing me, and they're saying, "You're not sleeping with the fishes, are you?" That's an old expression about people that, So, anything else that any questions coming in that you want to ask?
Well, does anyone else have a question before I go on?
Okay, well,
Hold on,
we
Kathy.
still have time, right?
Oh, we have time, not to worry.
I just typed one in.
Oh, okay. George, who provided the research about the Spanish mission?
Well, you know, it's interesting because there was a Spanish mission, I believe it was called St. Joe. I was in Tallahassee many times, and I was able to visit the archives from the archdiocese of Catholic churches and school, whatnot. And they had it listed as some 26 leagues south of St. Augustine, along well, it wasn't called that, but the Old Kings Road, and what is now St. Joe Grade, which would have put it in the area of McDonald's and Wendy's. And in particular, they believed it was near the Welcome Center that Palm Coast had. At one time, there was a school teacher, they named the middle school after Buddy Taylor. He was the principal there, and unfortunately he perished in a tragic accident. But he had told me that him and the kids did some treasure hunting at Fort Fulton, and they found buckles and different things from the military installation that was there. But they also found remnants of the Spanish mission. And I had hoped that they could locate the exact spot and build a replica of the Spanish mission, just like the one in the cemetery in St. Augustine. And that thing's been battered and beat up so many times because of storms, but I just thought it would be really neat to have a replica of the Spanish mission in Palm Coast, Florida. Also, many years ago, I wanted to get the neighborhoods like Indian Trails and Palm Harbor and Pine Lakes and all those names. They were all part of plantations at one time. You know, we had the St. Joseph plantation from Joseph Hernandez, and he was the first Latin American that was on the state legislature. And that Bing's Landing, that pavilion out there, is the remnants of one of his plantation houses, and fireplace hearth and all that's still there, and the county put a cover over it. It's quite unique how we were able to preserve so many things. Actually, at Bing's Landing, where the site for the they call it Malacompra, which is bad deal in Spanish, I've been told. It also refers to bloody massacre. So I'm not quite fluent in Spanish to interpret that correctly, but That's how that went on. And going back, I wanted to name all the neighborhoods after the plantation, the New Hartford, the St. Joseph, and others. There's a lot to be proud of in Flagler, and there's a lot of history here that people aren't aware of.
Right. George, there are a couple other questions here.
Yes.
This one says, oh no, we just talked about that. How is Princess Place funded? Is it under the Florida Parks umbrella?
Well, that's an interesting question. They had a Preservation 2000 grant available with the state of Florida. Now it's like Florida Land Trust, but Flagler County was very fortunate in obtaining 2/3 of the purchase price from the Preservation 2000 funds. And Governor Lawton Childs was very instrumental in providing that. And the county paid the balance. It is actually a Flagler County park, maintained by Flagler County, funded by Flagler County. And many times people would make donations. We have a donation container out there. A lot of people don't use it and enjoy it, but that's okay. But it's funded just like through Parks and Recreation, like everything else. And what many don't realize, along the Pellisher Creek, we have 3 cabins for rent out there. Not cabins like primitive cabins. They have stainless steel kitchens and heat pumps and screened in porches right on the creek, and they're available through Parks and Recreation at 386-4020. And you can call there and make a reservation, and they're very reasonably priced. So that's how the funding came about, and it's provided by the funds that are in the Parks and Recreation. And many times when people do new development, they pay impact fees. And a part of that is from impact fees also. So that's how the funding comes.
Great. And so they still have weddings out there?
Sorry?
You could still have a wedding out there?
A wedding?
Yeah, a wedding.
You mean like getting married? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't use that word often. It sounds like closing. I got nervous. Yeah, there are many times there's weddings out there, and I'm fortunate. Many of my friends ask me, I like taking photographs and pictures, and I've been out there for many weddings and taken pictures. I've cooked for many weddings, and it's all voluntary. I don't collect money for anything. And it's Nate McLaughlin is
That
one
sounds
of
familiar.
all-time commissioners and probably one of the most honest, dedicated, sincere commissioners I ever served with. And that's saying something, considering while I was a county commissioner, 19 commissioners were elected and voted out of office while I was there.
Wow.
So that's saying a lot. And Nate was one of the most impressive and dedicated, not taken away from any of the others, but he was a good commissioner.
Excellent.
Yes. So as far as the weddings go, you can rent the Princess Place. I don't know what the rates are today, but it's so reasonable. It's like $100 for the day or something. And if you spend an extra 20 or whatever the amount is now, you can have a liquor license for the day and have liquor out there. We don't allow eating inside the Princess Place Lodge. People have eaten out there on the where the rocking chairs are and whatnot. But the pavilion is for that, and the stable. It's just an impressive place, and it's something where I quite often will go bring out a picnic lunch and have a picnic lunch, and it's really great.
Yeah.
So what else?
Clarice?
I have a question.
Yes.
Gladys,
Go ahead, Mary.
yeah, I wrote my question because I do not know how to, use Zoom very well. But I want to make sure the different names of Holland Park at the different periods of time.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. I know that there has been different names for Holland Park. You just mentioned a few. Can you mention from the very beginning the name of Holland Park and the period of times when the names change.
Yes, actually, many times, any type of fixture or building or whatever is named something, but as time goes by, it becomes a different name. Like originally, they just called the little 5-acre park, Florida Park. And then when the county built a 26-acre park, they named it Palm Coast Community Park because it was in the middle of Palm Coast there. And Jim Holland, who was a veteran, a good friend of mine, he was on the city council, and when he passed, as a memorial to him, they named it the Jim Holland Memorial Park, and that's how it's got its name, and that's what it's called today. And I'm just very honored that I knew the man and I know his family.
So actually, there are only three different names. The Florida Park, when it was only 5 acres,
Right.
and then Palm Coast Community Park, 26 acres, and the last one is the Holland Park.
Yes, and it will say forever Jim Holland Memorial Park.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
I wonder if there are any plans to create more parks in the county, George?
Well, there are a lot of proposed sites, but a lot of people don't realize we have parks all over. Like on the west side, there's a Hidden Trails Park is in the what they call Daytona North.
Right.
We have Shell Bluff Park, which is on the Little Lake out at Crescent Lake. And then there's a boat launch out there also at Crescent Lake. And the county owns the fish camp at Dead Lake. And there's a restaurant there that serves beautiful meals all the time. And that's out on 2006 at the western end of 2006 where it meets Dead Lake. And they actually have Bassmasters tournaments out there. I haven't been on the county for a while, so I'm not quite sure if they're still active with that, but that was at Dead Lake, and Bassmasters is a very big event where people earn money by the amount of fish, the largest fish, and all that stuff, you know. So there are parks, oh gosh, along Old Kings Road, there's several parks. The county and city teamed up on that, like the Rails to Trails. That goes from Flagler Beach all the way to US 1. And that is a beautiful trail. It's all asphalt. There's stations where you can put air in the tires. They're maintain the vehicle. If your bicycle breaks down, you can do repairs there. And it's just an awesome achievement that the county was able to do. So many different projects and so many grants are available for different things. All them little bridges you see everywhere were grant money that came to Flagler County.
Very good. George, just so you know,
You know,
there's,
I'll just add along, we have Herschel King Park also
right.
along Colbert Lane, as well as Palm Coast has a park. And at one time, there was actually a dairy farm out there years and years ago. And people can see it off of Fox's Cut. That's the trail that goes from the old Marriott all the way to Flagler Beach. And that's a beautiful trail out there along the Intercoastal Waterway.
George, here's a question. What inspired you to run for a seat on the county commission?
Well, I already was semi-retired from the Carpenters Union when I came here. And I was still doing construction. I still have a residential carpentry or construction license with the state. And as you go back, I started doing volunteer work, and the county commission asked me if I wanted to serve on the Palm Coast District Advisory Board as a volunteer councilman and represent the city of Palm Coast with the county commission. And it was a voluntary thing, as Palm Coast wasn't a city at that time. And they gave different assignments to people. I had the health department and veteran services, and I had parks and recreation. And when I started asking around, I said, well, where's the parks? And they laughed and they said, well, we have a little Florida park on Old King, or on Florida Park Drive, and we have a little park at the Belterre School, but we really don't have any parks. So I got enthusiastic and found out that we could have a park there. And I did some research and I found out the school board had it proposed for a school site. So I went to the school board meeting and I asked them if we could build a park there, or are you going to build a school? And they said, we're not going to build a school there. So I asked them to, would you relinquish the rights to the school? And they said yes. And Mr. Kopke, the superintendent, gave me a letter stating that if they would relinquish the rights to a school site. So then I took that to Jim Gardner at ITT and said, would you donate that property to the county? And of course, he said, well, no, we can't donate it because it's proposed for a school site. So you're going to have to get the school board to relinquish the rights. Well, tongue in cheek, I open up my folder and I give him the letter, and he smiled and had fun with it, but he actually donated it to the county. Al Jones was chairman of the county commission at that time, and he let me present that proposal to them, and they were supporting it 100%. And they said they would definitely build a park there. So I started getting name recognition, and the local newspaper, the News Tribune and Daytona paper, were putting my name in there, and they're saying George Hans is on the service district. So I was starting to get name recognition, and fortunately, you know, I'm VFW member and American Legion and Knights of Columbus and Elks and Italian Club and German Club. And just those organizations, we would do a lot of community service, and the newspaper were covering neighborhood events. It was really really nice that they did that, because people got to see what they could do in their spare time. And as it turned out, we ended up getting a lot of name recognition, and Al Jones was actually grooming me to be a county commissioner when Merrill Shoemaker retired. And when Merrill retired, he asked me to run for county commission. We went out to the west side, and my grandfather on my father's side had places he lived in Florida, and a lot of the old timers knew my grandfather, like Junior Strickland and Victor and Cora Buckles and people like that. And so it worked out where they talked me into running for county commissioner, and I went to the Freedom Day Festival in 1991 in Tallahassee representing the American Legion. And Cora Buckles introduced me to a tall, thin gentleman wearing a plaid shirt. That turned out it was Lawton Childs. And Lawton Childs endorsed me to run for county commissioner, and came here and actually, I don't know what they call it, talk for me, you know, whatever, that's stumping or something. And a lot of the old timers on the west side, you know, the cattlemen and the farmers supported me. So I was elected in 1992, and I won 6 4-year terms until 2016. And there was a tremendous amount of support for Mr. Trump to get elected. And everyone in the county, a majority of them obviously, voted for Mr. Trump. And he became president, and I was voted out of office by, what's his name? O'Brien. He's a friend of mine. He always wanted to run, but he would never run against me. But I already had my pension with the Carpenters Union. I was 70 years old. I'm like, oh my God, I've done enough. I have nothing to prove, and I'm honored. I'm honored to be a county commissioner, a past county commissioner, just like I was honored to serve in the United States Army when I went in at 17, 2 days after President Kennedy was assassinated. So I'm proud of my service, and in my spare time, I raised children as a single parent to adulthood from infancy. And I don't want to talk about myself. It sounds like I'm running for office. I am retired and I'm happily retired. Unfortunately, many of my friends don't like me being retired because they're like, oh, can you help us with this and that? And you know what? It's fun because it makes you feel needed. When you're active and have high pressure jobs, you're dependent on to make decisions, important decisions. But when you retired, it's like faded glory. It's you don't need to make them big decisions now. With me now, it's like, well, I have a little puppy, a Maltese, a dog, and the big decisions are, well, should I give him fish or sirloin tip or something? That's my big decisions now. So I don't know. Someday I'll be not able to do all these things. So I remain tremendously active. First thing in the morning, I make my bed, and an old military thing, but my house is very tidy. Even my refrigerator is very clean, and you can check the dates. They're all up to date. So we keep it. And now I just see Nancy hands on. That is
Hey,
my
Papa.
daughter in Chicago. Oh my goodness. Hi, sis.
Hey, Papa.
I'm glad you kept trying, Nancy.
When I
Oh,
when I
Nancy.
get my kids on, I get a little mushy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too. I'm here.
Hey, how you doing there, boy?
All
Yeah.
this time I've been trying to get in. I was having a devil of a time.
Well, didn't you tell them who you were?
Tried.
My son is very high up executive with the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And I'm proud to say he was the employee of the year last year.
Excellent.
Yes, and he's got
Excellent.
quite a sense of humor. I don't know where he gets that from, but he does a good job. So it's good having you guys all on here. Is there any questions that, we have a limited time and I'm trying to squeeze in as much as possible, but Elaine, you're so active in the community. You certainly have a question about something. Because yes, go ahead.
Well, you've been around for a while. You don't look it, but you have a lot of experience. And the general question I would think of is, through these years, what was the most important thing to you?
In Flagler County?
Sure. Well, your family would be the most important.
Well, my family is the most important thing to me, for sure. That's where my heart is. But I have a big enough heart to share it with the residents of Flagler County and to be so proud of all the things we were able to do. And it's not a bragging thing. It's just something that, thank God I was in a position to help and do certain things that people are enjoying. The Princess Place is just one of the many projects we were in on, and it's just impressive to be able to share that. And many times I'll be giving tours at the Princess Place, and of course I said, you mentioned the George Hand's Reef. Is that you? And I said, oh no, that's my grandfather. I'm trying to live up to his reputation. I'm a little modest, but I do like attention, I guess. But that just goes with the territory,
That's a good
So
thing.
it's good having a lot of people on board, and like I say, it's something that we really enjoy. I think it's a great program that you put on these things, because I was at the county office the other day and talked extensively with Mr. Cameron, the county administrator, and we chatted about so many things, and he was surprised how much history I knew about Flagler, because anytime you hire a new county administrator, let's say, he got to get on board on so many things, from bonding to what's in the progress and what's happening, and how you paying the whatever they call it, the bond for the courthouse. But, I'm proud to say we got the courthouse built, the administration, the road and bridge department, a youth center, a arena at the fairgrounds, a hockey rink, and that all those facilities were paid for by sales tax. Now that's quite a coup, because we were able to do that. And for the first time in the state of Florida, we teamed up with the school board to build the administration building, and they pay for half of it and utilize half. So that is really great, because many governments, they don't work together at all. And
Right.
Flagler County and the school board works very well together. Flagler County actually has their own clinic and doctors. So the employees, instead of taking a day off work, can go right to the clinic and get something for a sore throat or a fever, whatever the case may be. I cut my fingers one time, and I went in there and they stitched my fingers up. So I mean, it was really a lot of fun. So I guess you could say I bled for Flagler County too, but um,
Well,
so
you know,
anyhow, yes,
the historical societies are coming together as well. You know, ITT came in and it wasn't always a great relationship. And just like
yeah,
sisters and brothers, you know, they have to find their way and learn how to get work together. The historical societies, Flagler County, Flagler Beach, we're all working together now. And I think it's just a great thing for the county itself to make sure that we don't
anytime,
lose sight.
anytime municipalities and government and can work together for the betterment of the county as a whole, it's absolutely correct, because I understand years ago, um, some of the people in Benell and Flagler Beach bickered back and forth, and thank God Palm Coast come in, because then they both had someone to pick on, and that's and to see what's happening now, it's amazing.
Right.
We're so gifted to have 26 acres of oceanfront here. It's in particular that new park out on Bay Drive Park has got a elevated platform where people can go whale watching there, and
Yes.
it's really neat. And of course, Flagler Beach is our pristine beach in the county. There's no question about it. It's nice that you can go there and enjoy it. So because you're all working together, that's awesome. I mean, that is the way it's supposed to be. So we're real pleased with that.
Right. I agree, George. Everybody needs to keep their eye on the ball.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. And you do a tremendous job. Like every other organization, it's a handful of volunteers that do all the work. Many people are members, but as soon as you ask them to help with something, they don't want to get involved, and so it's really nice to see all the organizations and all the community service. A little known unknown fact. I was fortunate to serve as commander of the VFW in 1994-95. We won the state award for community service. That entitled us to go to Phoenix, Arizona in 1995 and vie for the National Community Service Award.
Wow.
Little Palm Coast Post won the National Community Service Award in 1995, competing against over 11,000 VFW posts throughout the world.
Wow.
And that is something that's an honor. We had a big plaque at the VFW that they made up, but that's long since disappeared. It's kind of like in Egypt when there's a pharaoh and he dies and a new pharaoh comes along and he destroys everything from the previous administration. Sometimes that happens and it's unfortunate, but that was a beautiful achievement for Palm Coast, Florida. And when I first transferred over, oh my gosh, there was over 3,000 members. Not sure how it is now, but the year I was commander, we lost 50 veterans that year, mostly World War I and World War II veterans. And I did the eulogy for a lot of them. And it got really hard to do because you make friends with a lot of people. And like I said earlier, many of my voters died. Well, for God's sakes, when I transferred over, some of them were already 75 and 80. That was 33 years ago.
Wow.
So they're still here in spirit. And I'm doing my best to make people proud, especially my mother who passed when I was 12. And I try to never do anything to embarrass my mother. But sometimes I drive my children nuts, but that's part of the territory. They're going to return the favor to their children one day.
George,
Right,
there are a couple comments here, George, so I'll read them
Yes.
for you. This one says, thank you, George, for your service and also for helping to grow the parks and the bike paths that have broadened the community for the enjoyment of the residents of Palm Coast and Flagler County.
Oh, wow.
I
Well, thank you
concur.
very much. I'm very honored to do that. And thank you for the compliment. It really means a lot.
I
You
see.
know, I don't, once you retire, you don't get a lot of compliments. So I really appreciate that. Although my garbage men compliment me how neatly I put my garbage out, but it's not quite the same.
Not the same, George, not the same.
But thank you
Art,
so much. It's appreciated.
Art
Yes.
Dyke, do you have a question?
Yeah, no, I just have a statement. Uh, Hi, George. It's so nice
Hi.
to see
Hey,
you.
Art.
Okay.
Hi.
I'm wondering if you remember the night that we had the big parade when the tornado came in. And I know Louise and I ran for our lives, and I guess you did too.
Well, actually, you know, being an old soldier, when you hear gun firing, we don't run away from it, we run to it. But Mr. Dyke has been a mainstay in this county for so many years. And, you know, you don't realize it, but you encouraged a lot of people like myself to do what I do because of people like you. Um, so it was very scary with the parade, and who on earth expected a tornado that time of year? I mean, it was just terrible. And like you, I toured a lot of the areas that were damaged, and teamwork, and it all cleaned up, and you wouldn't know it, but we're not used to having that. But we went through a lot of things. You were here with the fires of '98, and even sooner there was earlier fires. I don't recall when, in the '80s, I guess. But we went through a lot of devastation here, and fortunately, um, we didn't have a lot of casualties. You know, some of the evacuations caused a lot of stress on people, but I remember that vividly. And like I say, Mr. Dyke, you are definitely, um, you know, you're a key person in this county, and people respect you immensely. You probably don't hear about it. And, you know, I'm sure your wife still makes you take out the garbage, but 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 you know, we're so tremendous, and I've always, everything I've learned in life has been from others, setting the example. And I always said, I see someone that commits a crime or does something bad, and I say, well, I don't want to be like that person. But when I see people like you and Elaine and so many other volunteers, Al Hadid is a tremendous asset and had a large influence on me. He's our county attorney. And anyway, the things like preserving history and local traditions and historic sites. You know, if the county didn't obtain the Princess Place, that was probably going to be all torn down and put Princess Point condominiums there. You know, so I mean, there's just so many things that we were honored to have saved. And the Florida Agriculture Museum, we were able to compete against every county in the state of Florida. Al Hadid and I went around soliciting Flagler County, and oh my gosh, we were just so fortunate. We had many of the old timers with the Cattlemen Association and whatnot. Raymond Tucker in particular, he's a member. He's deceased now, but he was very instrumental in convincing the state to put the Ag Museum in Flagler County, and he is the only member of Flagler County in the Cattlemen's Hall of Fame. So that's pretty impressive, you know. But people like you and so many others have set the bar high, and I accepted the challenge and want to be like you. You know, I want to be like people who are givers and not takers, and there's so many takers. And if you come to Flagler County and all you do is complain, you're not contributing to nothing,
Right,
you
right.
know. So
Thank you, George. Thank you.
Thank you.
oh well, thank you too, and appreciate it. I hope I'm not keeping you up too late. You have a good night and keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. An honor.
George, you're absolutely right about giving back and people contributing to the future of this county. Having said that, I see a note here from Becky, and she says, "This is fantastic. Thank you." And she also says, "Does the local DAR chapter work with your historical society?" Becky, no, but please get them in touch with me. But my point is this, George,
Yes.
You said yes immediately. We talked and you said, sure, I'll do that. And without you sharing this historical perspective and facts with us, it's lost. So I'm really happy that we recorded this and we'll put it on YouTube. So you will live forever.
Well, I don't know if I will, but you know, it's nice. I always encourage children if they ask me for a reference or something. And I have a habit when a young person does something great in high school or elementary school, I guess I'd say middle school now and grammar school, but I always encourage them and say, your legacy continues. And our whole lives are our legacy. And you have to be able to do something positive to pass it along. I've probably made a few errors in my life, but the good I've done, it far surpasses that. So when my time comes to see St. Peter, you know, he might put me on probation for a week or two, but they'll probably let me in. Yeah. But thank you for the nice, kind words. I appreciate it.
They're meant with sincerity. Are there any other questions for George?
Yes.
Kathy has a question. Go ahead,
Just a
Kathy.
comment. I'm sure you'll want to tour Holland Park when the water park opens in the next couple of weeks. So we'd like to invite you to come and tour the Palm Coast Historical Society Museum, which is also located in Holland Park. We have an exhibit celebrating the 50th anniversary of Palm Coast founding, and we'd love for you to see it.
Well, I would be honored to do so. I have to admit, I'm a firm believer, when you're in office, you contribute and you put your nose in everything. Once you kind of retire, you don't interfere with anyone. I don't recall ever going to a city hall or anything to complain. I don't do that. But I'd be honored to come there. I really would like to see the water park. I think it is a fabulous, fabulous thing, and the progress that must have went into it. I really am honored. I'm honored that the city of Palm Coast continues to thrive, and with the new community center and everything you do, you're going to find people that complain about it. But the point is, I'm not going to put in my personal opinion on complainers, but the thing is, do things positive. And if you surround yourself with positive people, you know, we need more leaders in the community. I really believe that, I don't know, leaders are like eagles. You don't find them in flocks, you find them one at a time. But thank you for the invitation. Is the Historical Society open daily?
No. I'll send you an information. It's open on Wednesdays and Saturdays right now.
Well,
You know,
But
right,
we're
I
going-
would like to visit, and thank you for, if you guys could get information to me ahead of time, like they're gonna have a grand opening for the water park or whatever, well, I'd be honored to show up.
I think that'll be coming up in the next few weeks.
Well, it's really an awesome thing that we're able to have. When my children first came here in the late 80s, oh my gosh, there was nothing for children to do. I mean, absolutely nothing.
right.
And we still don't really have, and correct me if I'm wrong, a video arcade like Dave and Buster's and things like the kids enjoy. I understand that we're gonna put a roller rink, family roller rink, in the old Food Lion on 100, but it wasn't approved. They put a proposal in and it wasn't approved. So I'm not gonna give my opinion of why it wasn't approved, but it was not Flagler County. I'm not gonna mention any names, but it's FB. No, that's a great place, and I go there quite often to Flagler Beach. It's really a great place.
All right, well, George, our time is up. I like to stay on time.
Yes, ma'am.
Apologies to the folks who had a hard time getting in. I'm glad that we were able to fix that. The question here on the chat was, will I be able to see this from the beginning? And yes, you will be able to see this from the beginning. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, and really thank you everyone that was able to sign on. Sometimes it's very difficult, you know, to go on to Zoom and stuff because it's they ask questions, and a lot of people get nervous when they have to approve of permission to do certain things, so
Right.
I don't blame them, but thank you all for coming, and especially on a personal note, my family, my daughters and son. I can't really see their picture. I see my son somewhere. Where is he?
There he is, right?
Oh, he's not there right now. But anyway,
Yeah, he's there.
thank you all. He's there, but I just see only a couple faces at once. But thank you all for coming, and I hope I didn't bore you. I always enjoy an opportunity to talk, and it's about what I really love, Flagler County, and I'm glad I was able to be a contributing factor for many of the amenities we have. And if I can ever be of assistance, please let me know.